everybody. Welcome to 2018. Hope you had a really happy, awesome, healthy new year. We are in a new time, new movies coming out, but before we get to reviews for 2018, we gotta get through the big list of the year, which I'm doing the year after. That's because there's a lot of movies that came out, and I did have to do a little bit more binging before I was fully confident in my list. But here we're starting with the top 10 movies of 2017. These are my favorites. It's subjective. These are movies that ultimately I factor in everything. How I felt when I saw it, how I feel now, the characters, the story, the construction of the filmmaking behind and in front of the camera. I take everything in consideration, and just basically all of these movies that are in my top 10 list are movies that I am confident in having where they are. And I have a holy ton of honorable mentions because this was a really good year, honestly. A lot of great indie movies. Of course, they were bombs, and I'm going to talk about those in the next video, but these are my favorite movies of 2017. But without further ado, let's get to the honorable mentions first, and I got 20 of them. Yeah, 20. There were 20 more movies after that 10th spot that if I didn't mention them in this video and give them some acknowledgement, I would feel really guilty and horrible inside. My heart would rot. Using my Empire Strikes Back covered phone, first we have Split, a movie that really brings in the return of M. Night Shyamalan. Then we have Better Watch Out, a holiday suspense movie that stars the main cast of The Visit, another M. Night Shyamalan movie, and it has a great twist, really fun movie. Then we have Gifted. It's a Mark Webb movie with Chris Evans, and it made me cry. I actually really enjoyed this movie. Then we have Killing of a Sacred Deer. Wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but I haven't stopped thinking about it since I saw it, and it left an impression in my mind, so it deserves to be on this list here. Call Me By Your Name, a really great summer romance movie that really tears your heart out by the end, but has a great monologue from a really great actor, Michael Strasberg. Oof. Okay. Columbus, a movie that I just recently saw, the last movie I saw for 2017, which stars John Cho and Haley Richardson. Wonderful, wonderful movie. Lady Bird. It reminded me of high school, and it's a slice of life, and it's got some really earnest, honest performances from some great actors. Next we have Ingrid Goes West, the movie where the girl from Parks and Rec goes cuckoo crazy over social media, and then it gets really intense. I would definitely recommend seeing it, especially if you have an obsession with social media. Then we have Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I love the cast, love the story. The ending leaves a lot to be desired, I think, but it's ambiguous in a good way too. I would definitely recommend if you're a film fan. Only the Brave. Cried my eyes out. I, Tonya. Love this biopic. Margot Robbie kills it. I kind of hope she wins the Oscar for a Best Actress for this one. War for the Planet of the Apes. It's a special effects extravaganza, but the story is incredibly wicked, awesome, and the opening act will tear your heart out. It'll make you want to, jump out a window. It's so heartbreaking. Good Time. Another movie that I think will climb up in my list as years go on. I really like this movie. I just couldn't get it up there this time around. Blade Runner 2049, a really great sci-fi movie by Denis Villeneuve, and I recommend if you're a fan of sci-fi, you need to see this movie. Disaster Artist, a movie I really loved, but somehow didn't make it on the list. Bonkers. Then we have Wind River, a movie that was directed by Taylor Sheridan, and I love this movie. It's really dark though, so you need to be emotionally and mentally ready before you watch a movie like this. But great film. Wonder Woman, very big cultural hit. It will have an impact forever in the blockbuster landscape, and Patty Jenkins rocks it. It just couldn't get to the main list. Then we have Coco, another movie that made me cry my eyes out. Tear jerker, tear destroyer. I just couldn't get it there. Logan, I can't believe this movie didn't make my list. I love this movie. And then the last one is Dunkirk, another movie I'm surprised didn't make the list. But, I mean, that's what happens with these top 10 lists. Some movies you gotta leave out. And now, without further ado, let us move on to the main event here, the top 10 movies of 2017, starting with number 10. Number 10 is Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. I haven't been a fan of his recent work in the past couple years, but this movie really hit me like a bucket of water. I love the atmosphere. I was soaked into it. The performances, the romance, the characters, just the early 60s but 50s vibe the practical sets, the creature design. It's a very wonderful movie, but it also has a little bit of edginess, and it's a little dark, and it's also just got that splash. That's my third pun. I'll stop now. Number 9 is John Wick, Chapter 2. The first time around, this is the beauty of the rewatch, and also just reflecting on movies. The beauty of rewatch. The first time I watched this film in theaters, I liked it. But then upon rewatching it, I really fell in love with it. It's a different sequel compared to John Wick 1, which is one of my favorite movies of 2014. This one is more like a video game. It's got more expansion, more mythology building in this world. But I really, like, this movie is kick-ass. There are some really awesome set pieces involving, you know, gun fu and pencil stabbings and subway silencer shootings. This is a great sequel to a great film, and if you're a fan of action movies, you need to watch this now. Keanu Reeves is a national treasure, and God bless that man. Number 8 is A Ghost Story. It's a little film I watched finally on demand. I rented it, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. It hit me, it resonated with me. There are a couple scenes that are a little overly long, that overstay their welcome, but I still remember them. The pie eating scene is ridiculously long. It's like 5 minutes of Rooney Mara just soaking in pie. But you can't forget it. The movie's unforgettable. There's a couple big monologues, especially one by this one hipster dude towards the end of one scene that, like, it just took me to another place. I was transported by this movie, and by the end of it, I just felt like, I don't know, I was on some drugs, but those drugs were very enlightening and fulfilling drugs. The way this film was put together and does so much for an audience member watching it, it astounded me. And I think if you're a fan of film, you should definitely check this out. It just may be a little polarizing. You may or may not like it, but it hit me. Number 7 is The Big Sick. This is one of my favorite romantic comedies of the past few years. If you know me, Forgetting Sarah Marshall is absolutely my favorite movie in that genre, but this movie comes pretty close. It's got great performances, it's got stand-up comedy, which I love when integrated into a movie well. It's got great romance, great drama. This is a true-to-life story for Kumail Nanjiani, and you can really feel it in the filmmaking, and it's one of the best movies I've seen this year because it just made me feel really good. There's also a voicemail scene in the middle of it that made me cry my eyes out. This movie goes way beyond being just a simple romantic comedy, and it's surprisingly a movie that I can't wait to revisit time and time again. I love this movie. Number 6 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, I left Logan and Wonder Woman off the list, two of the arguably more impactful movies overall of 2017, but I put this one here, and I put it as high as I have, because the themes of this film, the construction and the filmmaking, the acting, everything just resonated more with me. The music, I think, even though some people have said it's lesser than the first soundtrack, I think it's just as good, if not better, in the way it is juxtapositioned with the scenes. Yondu, Michael Rooker, is the best part of this movie, but there's also so many other things involving family. There are some moments of humor that feel out of place, but they didn't detract from my experience of the overall film just really being a wonderful spectacle with heart and soul and integrity. It's better than the first Guardians for me, and this is the superhero movie of the year for me. Sorry, not sorry. Number 5 is Baby Driver. It's a movie that has so much spunk, and for me, it starts off a little slow, even though the whole way through it's masterfully directed by Edgar Wright, but it starts off slow for me, but then at some point, something clicks, And for the rest of the film, it's just a wonderful roller coaster treat. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like a good majority of people do sing in their car and do have moments where they're driving somewhere and they just kind of like go with the music they're hearing because they just feel some type of way. And I love that we have a movie where the main character is just obsessed with music in one way or another, circumstance or tragedy, what have you. But he uses the music to get the job done, and the music motivates him and drives him, literally, pun again, further as a character. It's a great film technically, but it's also just a great fun time, and it has great mass appeal. It's number 5, baby. Number 4 is The Last Jedi, one of the most polarizing blockbusters ever. Fanboys attacking each other, petitions to get this film out of canon, people calling Rian Johnson a hack. You've heard the whole story if you've been on the internet, and I'm not going to go through everything again because I've done an hour podcast on it and a bunch of videos, but this movie is a great movie in my opinion. It furthers the Star Wars universe in a really different way. It challenges you to think differently about a franchise that you've loved for years. It goes in directions that you would not expect. There are flaws in the movie, but it doesn't take away from the fact that The Last Jedi is one of the best Star Wars movies ever made. And Rian Johnson, what he did with this franchise, the direction he took, is admirable and bold, and I love him for it. I love Star Wars The Last Jedi, and for those who didn't like Star Wars The Last Jedi or straight up hated it, sorry to hear that, but this is me. I loved it. Number 3 is It. This movie blew right the hell up when it came out in theaters, and it's probably a mix of a lot of factors, but just because it has such great mainstream appeal and it is one of the more highly regarded movies of last year, I still love it to death. I just think the film is wonderfully directed by Andy Muschietti. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This movie has a great, wonderful cast of characters. All the kids work together well with their chemistry. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise is absolutely terrifying, and what he brings to the table, his nuanced performance, and also over-the-top performance, everything he does with the character was mesmerizing. It's an astonishingly well-made horror movie that really has everything, a complete package. Even if you're not a fan of the horror, there's a great coming-of-age story here, and it's really sweet. In moments, you feel like you're just watching like a Stand By Me movie, and it's a Stephen King thing, so yeah, I guess it's kind of obvious, but I can't believe that I love this movie as much as I did, and I can't wait for Chapter 2. Number 2 is Get Out, the movie that I came out of the theater in February going, that was way better than I expected it to be. And then it just kind of stayed in my mind the whole year round. But there may not be a movie from 2017 that will be talked about more from that year, from 2017, than this film. It's got social commentary, but it subverts expectations, and it also presents things that you wouldn't expect. You go into it thinking, oh, it's a Meet the Parents, but with interracial couples, so it's going to do this, this, and this. But it does do this, this, and this, but also does a bunch of other things. It's a really well-made film from a compositional standpoint, too. The music, I love the music in this movie, and from a 3-act structure standpoint, it also is super fulfilling, and by the end of it, you're cheering out loud. It's a great crowd pleaser. It was great to see in theaters, and it's a wonderful horror movie, suspense movie that's going to be in discussions for a long time. I cannot highly recommend this movie enough to everybody out there. And my number 1 is Brigsby Bear. I have seen nobody on the internet talking about Brigsby Bear in this film fan community that I at least follow, of the big top dogs, and I am here to bring exposure for this film. It stars Kyle Mooney, Mark Hamill, and a bunch of other people, Greg Kinnear, a bunch of other people you would recognize, and I can't say anything about it, but the story is really, really awesome. You expect one thing, and it just kind of goes a really strange, weird direction within the first 15-20 minutes of the movie, and then the rest of it becomes like this really nice tribute to doing what you love. And by the end of it, I was crying. I'd never seen anything like this before. I can't guarantee everybody's going to enjoy it, but I fell in love with Brigsby Bear, and it is my favorite movie of 2017. And there you have it, folks. Those are my top 10 movies of 2017, along with a really big list of honorable mentions. Again, I want you guys to mention down below in the comment section what your lists are, what your favorite movies of the year are, and let's have a nice discussion before we actually move on to 2018. If you enjoyed this list, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out everything else down below. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and next is the worst movies of the year. Damn it. I'll see you guys on the flip side.